There comes a moment in every life when the noise has to stop, when the endless talking, the planning, the dreaming, the explaining, all of it becomes nothing more than a distraction from the one thing that actually changes everything: execution. And maybe that moment is right now. Maybe you're sitting there surrounded by ideas that once felt electric but now feel heavy, unfinished, almost mocking you, because deep down you know something. You've said enough. You've imagined enough. You've waited long enough. And the only thing standing between who you are and who you could become is the distance between thinking and doing. It's a strange place to be, stuck between vision and action. You can see the life you want so clearly. It almost hurts, yet every day somehow slips through your fingers. You promise yourself you'll start tomorrow. You'll go harder next week. You'll be more disciplined next month. But tomorrow keeps moving, and next week keeps fading. And that version of you, the one who actually executes, remains just out of reach. Not because you're incapable, not because you lack talent, but because somewhere along the way you got comfortable with the illusion of progress. Talking about your goals feels productive. Planning feels productive. Even watching others succeed can feel like you're moving forward. But none of it counts, not until you move. And that's the hardest truth most people will never accept. You don't get credit for intention. You don't get rewarded for potential. The world doesn't change because you thought about it. It changes because someone got up, stepped into uncertainty, and took action when it was uncomfortable, inconvenient, and uncertain. Think about the weight of that for a moment, because it means the life you want isn't locked away behind some impossible barrier. It's waiting behind effort, consistent, relentless, often invisible effort. And that's where most people break. Not at the beginning, not at the dream, but in the middle, in the grind, in the repetition of showing up when nobody is watching, when nothing seems to be happening, when doubt whispers that maybe this isn't worth it. That doubt, it's loud, isn't it? It tells you you're not ready. It tells you you need more time, more knowledge, more resources. It convinces you that waiting is safer than trying, that preparation is smarter than action. But what it never tells you is the truth, that waiting slowly steals your life. Every day you delay is a day you could have been building. Every excuse you accept is a brick in the wall that keeps you where you are. And the world will not stop for you. It won't pause while you figure it out. It won't hold opportunities in place until you feel ready. It moves forward with or without you. And the question is simple but brutal. Are you moving with it, or are you watching it pass you by? There are people who started with less than you, who knew less than you, who had fewer advantages than you, and still found a way to execute. Not because they were fearless, but because they were willing to look foolish, willing to fail, willing to be seen as inexperienced. Because they understood something most people avoid: the price of staying the same is far greater than the risk of change. And yet, here you are, still holding on to ideas, still carrying dreams that deserve more than silence. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet frustration, that inner voice that knows you're capable of more. It doesn't shout, but it doesn't go away either. It lingers, reminding you that you weren't meant to live half-hearted, that you weren't built to just exist and settle. So the question becomes, what are you going to do about it? Because at some point, you have to stop negotiating with your comfort zone. You have to stop explaining why you haven't started. You have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is a myth. It doesn't exist. It never has. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful did it in imperfect conditions, with imperfect knowledge, and often with imperfect confidence. Execution is messy. It's uncertain. It doesn't guarantee success right away, but it guarantees something far more valuable. It moves you forward, and forward is the only direction that leads anywhere worth going. The moment you decide to act, everything shifts. Not overnight, not magically, but fundamentally. You stop being someone who dreams and you become someone who does. And that identity, that shift, is where real transformation begins. Because once you prove to yourself that you can take action despite fear, despite doubt, despite resistance, you unlock something powerful. You realize that you are not controlled by your emotions, you are not defined by your past, and you are not limited by your current circumstances. You are driven by your decisions. And that's where the real story begins, not in what you say, but in what you're willing to do next. And when you step into that space, when you finally cross that invisible line between intention and execution, you begin to understand something most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that growth does not come from comfort. It comes from confrontation, confronting your weaknesses, confronting your excuses, confronting the version of yourself that has been settling for less while pretending to aim for more. Because execution forces honesty, and honesty is not always gentle. It shows you exactly where you stand, without filters, without illusions, without the safety of someday. History has always belonged to those who chose action over comfort, even when the odds looked impossible, even when the world doubted them. There was a man who failed not once, not twice, but thousands of times trying to create something that many believed was unnecessary, even absurd. Thomas Edison was told repeatedly that he was wasting his time, that his ideas would never work, that he should stop chasing something so uncertain. But what most people saw as failure, he saw as progress. Every failed attempt was not a defeat, but a step closer to understanding what didn't work. And that is the difference execution makes. It reframes failure from something to fear into something to use. When the light bulb finally illuminated the darkness, it wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was proof that persistence fueled by action can bend reality itself. And then there was a leader who faced defeat over and over again before ever tasting victory. Elections lost, businesses failed, personal struggles that would have broken most people. Abraham Lincoln knew rejection on a level most would never endure, yet he kept moving forward, not because success was guaranteed, but because quitting was not an option he was willing to accept. Imagine the weight of those failures, the voices telling him to stop, the doubts that must have crept in during his lowest moments. And yet he executed again and again until one day the same man who had been underestimated became one of the most impactful leaders in history. That transformation didn't come from talent alone. It came from resilience, from consistency, from refusing to let failure write the final chapter. Execution is what separates stories that inspire the world from dreams. Hack fade into silence. It's what turns imagination into impact, and is available to anyone willing to pay the price. But that price is not small. It demands discipline when you don't feel motivated. It demands focus when distractions are everywhere. It demands sacrifice when comfort calls your name louder than your purpose. Because let's be honest, motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like a wave. One moment you feel unstoppable, the next you feel drained, uncertain, questioning everything. If you rely on motivation, you will stop. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. But discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline shows up regardless. It executes regardless. It builds when emotions are low, when energy is gone, when results are invisible. That's where most people fall apart. Not because they lack dream, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, full of excitement, full of vision. But when reality sets in, when progress slows, when results don't match expectations, they stop. They wait for inspiration to return, not realizing that inspiration follows action, not the other way around. Execution is not glamorous. It's not always exciting. It doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. It's waking up early when your body begs for rest. It's working late when your mind wants to quit. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort again and again until it becomes part of who you are. And somewhere along that journey, something incredible happens. You stop asking if you can do it, and you start proving that you will. Your confidence shifts from something you hope for to something you have earned. Because confidence is not built by thinking about success. It's built by stacking actions, by showing yourself that you can follow through, that you can endure, that you can finish what you start. Think about the power of that, because once you trust yourself to execute, everything changes. Opportunities that once felt intimidating become challenges you're ready to face. Goals that once seemed distant become targets you're actively moving toward. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be starts to close. Not because of luck, but because of effort applied consistently over time. Consistently over time. That's the reason so many people stay stuck. It's not because they don't want more. It's because wanting more is easier than doing what it takes to get more. It's easier to talk about the gym than to go. Easier to plan a business than to build one. Easier to dream about success than to earn it. But easy never leads to extraordinary. Easy keeps you average. Easy keeps you where you are. Execution demands that you choose hard every single day. And yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when doubt creeps back in and whispers that maybe you're not cut out for this. But those are the days that matter most, because those are the days that define whether you are committed or just interested. Anyone can act when it's convenient. Anyone can push when it feels good. But the people who change their lives, the people who build something meaningful, they execute when it's difficult. They execute when it's uncomfortable. They execute when every part of them wants to stop. And that's the difference. Not talent, not luck, not timing, execution. So now the question becomes even more real, more urgent, more personal. What are you doing today that moves you forward? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because your future is not built in some distant moment. It's built right now in the choices you make, in the actions you take, in the discipline you have to apply or avoid. And every moment you hesitate, every moment you delay is a moment you could have. Even building something that matters. You don't need another plan. You don't need another idea. You don't need more time. You need to execute. And somewhere in the middle of all this effort, all this repetition, all this silent grinding, a deeper question begins to rise inside you. Not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. Because execution without purpose eventually burns out, but execution fueled by purpose becomes unstoppable. It becomes something bigger than mood, bigger than motivation, bigger than temporary emotion. It becomes identity. You start to realize that this isn't just about success anymore. It's not just about money or recognition or proving people wrong. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about becoming someone you can respect when you look in the mirror. Someone who didn't run when things got hard. Someone who didn't fold under pressure. Someone who didn't keep talking about dreams while letting life pass them by. Because at the end of the day, the hardest person to lie to is yourself. And deep down, you know the truth. You know when you've given your best, and you know when you've held back. You know when you've executed, and you know when you've made excuses. That inner voice, it doesn't disappear. It waits. It watches. And it reminds you of what you're capable of every single time you choose comfort over growth. But the moment you align your actions with your purpose, everything sharpens. Your focus becomes clearer. Your decisions become easier. Distractions lose their power. Guys, now you were not just working, you're building something that matters, something that reflects who you are becoming. And that vision, it has to be real to you. Not something borrowed from someone else's life, not something you think you should want, but something that pulls you forward, even when the path gets dark. Because there'll be moments, many of them, when nothing makes sense, when progress feels invisible, when the results don't match the effort. And in those moments, purpose is what keeps you moving when everything else tells you to stop. This is where most people turn back. This is where the excitement fades and reality sets in. This is where the dream either evolves into discipline or disappears completely. Because dreaming is easy when it's new, when it's exciting, when it's untouched by struggle. But real dreams, the ones that change your life, they demand something from you. They demand patience. They demand resilience. They demand that you keep showing up long after the initial excitement is gone. And that's where you have to make a decision, not a temporary decision, not something you say in a moment of motivation, but a real decision. A decision that no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you fall, you will continue to execute, you will continue to move forward. You will continue to build, because execution is not a one-time act. It's a lifestyle. It's a daily commitment to becoming better than you were yesterday. It's choosing progress over perfection, action over hesitation, growth over comfort, again and again and again. And yes, you will fail. You will make mistakes. You will have moments where you question everything. But those moments, they are not the end of your story. They are part of it. They are shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for something greater than you can see right now. Every setback is teaching you something. Every struggle is building something inside you that success alone never could. Strength, patience, perspective. These are the things that last. These are the things that make success meaningful when it finally comes. But it only comes if you keep going. And that's the part most people don't. You want to hear it. There's no shortcut. There's no easy path. There's no moment where everything suddenly becomes effortless. There's only the work, the consistent, sometimes exhausting, often unseen work that builds something real over time. But if you stay with it, if you refuse to quit, if you commit to execution no matter what, something incredible begins to happen. You change, not just your results, but you. Your mindset shifts, your standards rise, your habits strengthen. You become someone who doesn't wait, someone who doesn't hesitate, someone who doesn't need permission to go after what they want. And once you become that person, there's no going back, because now you've seen what you're capable of. You felt what it's like to push past limits you once believed were real. You've proven to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can endure, that you can finish. And that realization is powerful. It means that the life you want is no longer a distant dream. It's the direction. It's something you are actively moving toward with every action you take. So now, right here, right now, everything becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. You either execute or you don't. You either take the step or you stay where you are. You either build the life you've been talking about or you keep talking. Because no one is coming to do it for you. No one is going to hand you discipline. No one is going to force you to be consistent. This is on you. Your future, your growth, your success, it all comes down to the actions you take when no one is watching, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable. That's where it's decided, not in your words, not in your plans, not in your intentions, but in your execution. So stop waiting, stop overthinking. Stop doubting. Start now. Start where you are. Start with what you have and get everything you've got. Because one day you're going to look back at this moment and you're going to realize that this was the turning point. The moment you stopped talking and finally started becoming. No more excuses. No more delays. No more waiting and no more talk. Just execution.